Yo, 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 Tony Ricca here. Yo, and oh, yeah, independent wrestling circuit and cameos. Oh, yeah, yo, yo, yo. Hey, talking with Tony, part 15. Oh, yeah, already. Yo, yo, yo. All right. Hey, there's questions, yeah, and there's answers. Yeah, there's been a lot of them. Oh, yeah. And we have some really good ones here. Oh, yeah. All right, so, let's get to them because, you really got some good ones here. Hall of Fame here, too, to start it off, So, all right, let's go with the first question. Who do I think, that's not in the Hall of Fame from the past? It should be. Okay, so, you know what? We're going to go with, there's a lot of Hall of Fames out there and, in wrestling. And, obviously we'll go with WWE. And, a lot of companies have their own Hall of Fames, a lot of places, museums, different places, all kinds of things have Hall of Fames, and what's national, what's regional, what's what, but everyone has their own. So WWE has their own, and there are politics involved in these things. It's like this one likes this one, that one likes that one, and so we'll go with this one or that one. Hey, they pick out of a hat. All right, we're not going to go there, but sometimes get a little slippery there, but yeah, you know what? I do have one. We'll go with WWE. Definitely. There's one out there that I will tell you that should be in there, and for some reason has been overlooked. And I will tell you, Dick Woehrle, the referee, and he worked up into the 1980s, the mid 80s, and he did a lot of Northeast, kind of more, Eastern, part of the coast, kind of like that. But listen, when it came to the main matches, he was the guy he went to. This guy was a boxer to begin with. He trained boxers. He was a referee in boxing. And actually, apparently, he just, different things he just led him to Vince Sr., actually. And, he wound up in, at the time, WWF. Then it was WWF, of course, it's WWE. But anyway, he's not here anymore. And, it's just to know that, that he deserved his spot there. And he still does. So, you can always put him in there. And, he was the guy that you went to. I remember there was what was it, a 6-man tag team. I'm trying to remember. It was a long time ago. I'm trying to remember. But I remember Snook was there, Andre, and was it Hogan? I'm trying to remember. But, obviously the faces on the one side. But I remember Snook on Andre's shoulders flying, doing a super fly off of it. But a lot of times there's matches like that, Dick Woehrle would be called to do them. And so basically, he kind of, he was the go-to guy. Vince Sr. loved Dick, and he used him for all the main talent that there was. And these are the icons at the time in the 80s and all that stuff. So he did, the Hogan matches. He did, Andre, all the, you name it. He did the matches, and even outside of WWE, he did, different promotions, and he did a lot with Ric Flair, too, and it just happens to be, again, so for WWF, WWE actually. He's the guy that he should already have been in there years ago, but he's got his own action figure too. You get the whole thing. But the thing is though, the whole, he winds up, he just never got included in it. I don't know, somebody's missing the boat there, but maybe they should consider and start thinking about it, and putting him in it because he deserves his place there. In there, because he was a big part of that company, and he was the go-to ref out of all the ones. And I remember seeing, just the people around him, all the wrestlers, any wrestler, respected him so much. He had so much respect. So I mean, again, he was the go-to guy. He was always physical too, when it came to reffing, and again, that was part of his boxing background too. But Dick Woehrle should be the guy that actually should be in it. So, they need to consider that. I would think, it would be a nice thing, for him, for his family. That would be great. The next one, next question. Let's go with the Hulkster. Hey. Now, was I, a Hulkster Hogan fan? And let me tell you something. You grew up. Listen, Hogan kind of just came in, and he kind of just went. He went wild. Rocky and all that stuff, and you kind of, you couldn't help but like him. I mean, I did, and I mean, I didn't like go goofy fanning over people and all that stuff, but I would say, yeah, I was a fan of, snooker, I loved, watching snooker, but Hogan and all that stuff, get the crowd going, get everything going, and just the stuff he did, and let me tell you something, working with him too, and later on, years later, not even knowing, of course, he was like that same person then. When it came to promoting, I talked with him about that too. And, that was a whole nother thing though, another story there. But anyway, I would say, watching, before I got into it and all that stuff, definitely, he really brought, he brought it, he brought a lot of fans out and he really opened the doors. But Vince, of course, was the big part of opening those doors. So, you can't forget that part. But yeah, Hulkster, yeah, fan, yeah. Okay. So let's go to the next question. Oh yeah, this question. Here we go. All right. So now it comes down to WrestleMania. So if I could pick one WrestleMania to be my favorite, which one would it be? And boy, wow, I know a lot of people go with I don't go by a lot of people, but of course, with The Rock and Austin going at it, that was actually an awesome card. Which one was that? I'm trying to remember, but they had some feuds there, but don't forget the Pharaoh was going to be in that one too. But but anyway, that's a whole nother thing. But I'm going to go with, only because it might have not been the best card, but it was the pivotal moment in WrestleMania and for the company. So I have to look at it that way. And I like to look at things, from all views. And that would be WrestleMania 3. And you'd be like, what? WrestleMania 3? I mean, you have all these other ones, these great matches, these, just all these. And there's so many WrestleManias, awesome WrestleManias. But I'm going with 3. You got Hulk Hogan right there, slamming Andre, and then, obviously the torch went to Hulk, okay? Went to the Hulkster there. And then you had Macho Man and Steamboat. There was a match right there. Obviously that was a big talk, they just talked big about that match. I mean, that was huge. And I mean, there was stuff on that card that, what was it? They don't know, but the 90-some thousand people, was it, in a Silver Dome, or I think that's where it was. But and they're like, oh, we don't know, because what was it, AT&T? They had like 100-some thousand, a couple years back or whatever it was, or, quite a few years back, but not too much. But anyway, so they had the most attendance, but it's not just about that, because now that they have multiple days of it. So, they just, they pack the house. It doesn't matter. They do a great job of it. And, but you have to say WrestleMania 3, yes, from, the change of hands, just Hogan taking over from there, and just kind of, the amount of people that were there. And it kind of, they planted the flag, and, it kind of made it the global, company at that time, and that's what turned everything. And a lot of times people don't realize this, but even behind the scenes, Linda McMahon was really big behind it too, in building up the company. So it was Vince, of course, as well, but both of them obviously built that company up. But yeah, definitely just letting you know, I'm going with WrestleMania 3, and definitely just to let you know. So yeah, hey, there's some comments out there, likes, whatever you got, keep it up, because you know what, we got more going on. We got a lot going on, and hey, I can't wait, because this is gonna get great. Oh yeah, hey, keep watching, and don't forget, hey, you got a problem with anything, comment or do whatever you have to do, but hey, gotta love it though. That's because I do. Oh yeah, I'm gonna come down here, but hey, all right, hey, let's go with it. I can't wait for some more. So hey, you get the yos, because you know what? Because we got those questions answered, and we're gonna get some more. Oh yeah, I can't wait for it. Oh yeah, it's all for you. Oh yeah, hey, that's right. Hey, let's get it going. Oh yeah, yo.